What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Knives of the Round Table. My name is Marco, and today we're going to be taking a look at the mid-size version of the Tactical Pterodactyl Camper. The Camper is TPK's version of the knife, and what he's done is the drop point version is called the Camper, the Sheath version is called the Raptor. He's got a buoy style, he's got a tanto style, and then he's got like a sheep's foot with a cutout. So he's got different versions, and this is what he calls his mid-size, but it's still a fairly small knife. And we'll get to size comparisons here in a little bit, but let me give you kind of a tour of this particular version of the knife. This one's in crew wear. And what it is it's a fixed blade. It's a drop point. It's not a thin blade stock. It's fairly stout. It's like I said, it's a drop point with kind of a saber grind. It's a hollow ground saber grind. You got a very generous sharpening choil, maybe a little bit too generous. You've got G10 scales on this, and you got a little bit of a lanyard hole. And it's got this kind of rock, the scales have this kind of rock texture. This one, it has been in this finish. It's kind of what the TRC calls it, their apocalyptic finish, and that's kind of what's stuck in my head, but that's very much what this looks like. Kind of like something you find on a battlefield, all kind of rusted and antiqued and all kinds of stuff, right? So that's what this one is. And like I said, it's part of TPK's lineup. The other one I have is the Raptor, which is their sheep's foot. And these are both their mid-sized version of the knife. But like I said, this is a small knife, so let me give you some size comparisons. So the first size comparison I'm gonna give you is against the SC3. And this is the SC5. So like you can tell, it's a very small knife, okay? It's more, even though it's called a camper, I would say that this is probably best as an EDC blade, okay? You probably can do a scout's carry in the small of your back, or, kind of a 2 o'clock position or something like that. And this will fit nicely under your shirt. It's a very small knife, and it doesn't quite have the size that you can do a lot of things outdoors with it. So this is probably meant more for more robust EDC use. The SC3 is more along the lines of the smallest knife you probably want to be, when you're camping, or when you're out and about in a farm or a ranch or something like that. Now, for those of you who are thinking of getting kind of an EDC, maybe you are already familiar with the Paramilitary 2 and the Para 3. So as you can tell, it's as much smaller than neither of those two. So obviously you'd have to compare it to the folded version. This would go in your pocket, but you can tell it's not a very large knife. So you could probably carry that fairly comfortably if you decide to do so. I don't do that because for what I do, or in my job, it's probably not a good idea to carry around a knife that is visible. I think a knife in my pocket is probably about as far as I could take it. But if you work somewhere where that's not an issue, then this is probably a very good EDC blade. So let me get started with the ergonomics of the knife. And like I said, this is a small knife, but I wear large gloves, and I like a lot small blades that can still give you a full purchase on the knife. So I wear large gloves, and you can tell this fits my hand perfectly. And there's a little bit left over, but not much. So this is you can do a hammer grip and a saber grip. The jimping is very aggressive, okay? I think it'd be more comfortable with with gloves, because if you bear on anything, then you can feel you will feel it, and it will be painful here. Now you're not going to sleep off of it, right? It's very aggressive, but the ergonomics on this are actually pretty good. It's for my large hands. You get a full purchase, but it's a little bit narrow. You feel like the knife kind of disappears in your hand. My fingers hit the back of my hand, so I usually would like a little bit of a bigger, taller handle. Something that feels my hand a little bit better. But the ergonomics on it are not bad. Okay, I do feel it disappears a little bit in my hand, but I think it's very, very nice ergonomics. I think you could do some serious work with this knife, especially in a hammer grip. In a saber grip, I would suggest that you wear gloves with something like this. Now, cutting. So, like I said, this is not a thin blade stock, and let me try and show you here. So, this is the SC3, which is a much bigger, much harder, or you're probably gonna do a lot more work with the SC3, and you can see the thicknesses right there. That's the thicknesses here in the back. So the task that you're able to do with the SC3 because of the longer blade, you're probably gonna be doing much harder type views with the SC3. However, this is a thicker blade stock, so I don't think this is a knife that you have to worry about. I think it's thicker than it probably needs to be for its size. But if you're digging into crates, removing staples, I think you could probably pry with this without worrying too much about it, especially in crew wear. It's just a really, really good steel, but it has a hollow grind, so for shallower type cuts, I think it'll do fairly well. And then from there, I think more of a bands around crates, zip ties, those kinds of things, I wouldn't worry at all with this blade. Like I said, it's a lot thicker blade stock, and sometimes when you're carrying, so that's what I say, if your EDC requires harder use, you get a much stouter knife on this and tip and everything than you do on something like a Para 3. So cutting, I think it's meant to be more of a hard use tool. Okay, something that you might be rougher with, even though it's a small blade. So obviously there's no action on this, and this is the part of the review where I talk about the sheath, and that is what I like the least about these knives. I think that TPK could do better on the sheaths. First, I don't like the plasticky Kydex type sheaths. They do sell kind of a loop that you can loop around, and that's what you can do with it. You can do a kind of a scout's carry with it, sort of like that. But the feel of Kydex, I know a lot of people like the Kydex version of the sheaths, like what you have here, what you have in, actually the SCs also have a version of Kydex. But for me, give me a leather sheath any day. Something like this would be, I would enjoy it a lot more. I understand the benefits of Kydex. It's just for me, the clicky feel of the blade going in, and you get a little bit of sand and it scratches up everything. I just don't enjoy that at all. Now, fit and finish, I found these blades to be excellent. Like I said, that was the first blade I bought, actually. The second blade was the Raptor. I was intending to buy the Raptor, but these come in batches, so you have to kind of sign up and find out when there are drops and those kinds of things. So I was able to land this one first and then this one second, but the Raptor is a lot more it appeals to be a lot more. I think it's a nicer blade. It's a little bit less aggressive jumping. I like the sheep's foot reverse tanto grinds that they've done on this. I think this is a lot more my style. But I've had the opportunity to kind of play with them, use them. As you can see, you have the apocalyptic finish, but then you've got this really nice kind of satin on the back that just lights up everything. It's just really, really nice. I think the finish is excellent. Other than the Kydex sheath, they are kind of what they are. But as for the blade, I think the grinding is perfectly. I think the heat treatment is really well done. It holds an edge very, very well. They're using really nice steels. I think they're coming up with Magna Cut. So I would say that their fit and finish is just top notch on all of these knives. Now, finally, airing of grievances. I think I've talked about the Kydex sheath. I think that the choil is much too big. I think that the punch grind here, it could be tighter. You're already very close to the action here, to where you could do a lot of really nice fine work in this corner, and you don't need that big a choil. I do like sharpening choils. I don't like that, for example, Spyderco doesn't do them. They have like this, it just doesn't work. But a much smaller choil, especially in such a short blade, you have a very short blade and a very large choil, so it eats up a significant percentage of the blade. So I would say maybe the plunge grind a little bit tighter to the flat, and then make the choil just a little bit smaller. That gives you a little bit of more of a cutting edge on this. I think they're excellent blades. They're harder to get. He does do drops often. They're not spaced that far apart, but you have to kind of sign up for his newsletters, and then whenever they drop, they go in a matter of, call it 10 minutes. He usually has, I don't know, 20 blades or so, and they go in a matter of 10 minutes. So you need to really follow them and be on the ball. Like I said, this is their mid-size. This is what he calls his mid-size. I think I'm very curious to get the full-size version. It's a little bit bigger. It's still smaller than the SE3, but it might be smaller. And there's actually a smaller version of this, and I don't think I'm gonna get that. See, because this gives me a full 4-finger purchase on the knife. So I think that's about as small as I'm willing to go. I think anything less than that, and I'm starting to go 3 fingers or less, and I just prefer to have a full grip on mine. Well, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this. These are excellent blades. I've enjoyed them a lot, and if this was helpful to you, then like and subscribe. Don't hit the notification. Nobody likes to get more emails. You know where to find my content if you enjoyed it, and until I see you at the next one, take care.